Hello guys, it is Silver the Beast and I'm back here to bring you another video today. In this video I want to talk to I wanted to talk about Infinity Blade 3 vs Infinity Blade Dungeons. Alright, so I've talked about Dungeons on my channel and I've talked about Infinity Blade 3, but not a lot. Anyway, so brief introduction. Infinity Blade Dungeons is the next game in the Infinity Blade series. However, it is not developed by Cherry Entertainment, the developers of the first two games. It is developed by Impossible Studios, another studio owned by Epic, and instead of having the one-on-one Aegis style combat that is not unique to the Infinity Blade series, but it is the main draw, I guess. It's not going to be used in dungeons. It's going to be a dungeon crawler, third-person dungeon crawler, and should be pretty cool, I think. Not as excited for it as I would be for Infinity Blade 3, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be buying it mainly for the story, and of course I put up videos on this channel. The gameplay, like I said, doesn't look too interesting for me, but the story, since it is a prequel to the Infinity Blade universe, should be pretty cool. See some Worker of Secrets stuff. Looks pretty cool. And then Infinity Blade 3, which is not confirmed in the slightest, but Donald Mustard did a Q&A on Twitter. I did miss that, unfortunately, but he did a Q&A on Twitter, and he answered a question from somebody who asked if Infinity Blade 1 would get widescreen support and iCloud sync support like Infinity Blade 2 does, and he said no because they were working on a new game. Obviously, I think that means Infinity Blade 3, although it could mean two other things. They have another franchise called Shadow Complex, and they could be making a sequel to that, because I know a lot of people do want a sequel to that, and I've heard it's a great game. And a lot of stuff for Infinity Blade comes from Shadow Complex, like the Omega armor. Anyway, they could be doing something completely different, completely new game that's not even on iOS, which would suck. But yeah. So I hope it is IB3 or Infinity Blade 3 that they're talking about, because that would be really cool. For Infinity Blade 2. First, let me talk about Chair as a company. And Chair as a company, they're a different kind of company. They tend to leave a lot of bugs unfixed, and I don't really like that. I can understand why that happens. They do get bashed a lot for not fixing these bugs, and I did want to touch on that because I do have an opinion on it, and my opinion is that Chair, like I said, Chair is a very different kind of company, and they, let's see, how do I word this? They are overeager, I guess, to, they have a lot of ideas, and they're overeager to get those ideas out the window, so they prioritize getting those ideas into their games over fixing bugs. And that's one of the reasons they don't fix bugs. The other reason is that they were really rushed for Infinity Blade 2. And I think for Infinity Blade 1 as well. I'm not sure, but I am sure about Infinity Blade 2. They only had 6 months to develop that game, which sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot for a game that size. And yeah, so for Infinity Blade 3, although with Dungeons coming out, and that'll give them a little break, or not a break, they'll just give them more time, they'll have over a year to develop Infinity Blade 3, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but having more than double the time they had for Infinity Blade 2, we should be getting one of the most amazing, content-packed, relatively bug-free. I'm sure it'll have a couple bugs here and there, but it will be a much more bug-free than Infinity Blade 2. Also, it'll probably be much bigger, much more polished, overall an amazing game. It's like, if you've ever played Minigore on iOS, the first one came out a long time ago. It was really, really cool. I had a couple updates. Infinity and Minigore, developers took, I think it was like 3 or 4 years, or maybe not that long, but it was a long time before they came out with Minigore 2. And I have played that game, and Minigore 2 is excellent. So hopefully Chair will follow suit, and they will take their time and create an excellent, excellent game that blows Infinity Blade Dungeons and all the other Infinity Blade games out of the water. So obviously, if you haven't deduced yet, I am leaning for Infinity Blade 3 over Infinity Blade Dungeons right now, just because I prefer the Aegis style gameplay, the Aegis forms that they use in the gameplay to the dungeon crawler experience. So yeah, I'm leaning for Infinity Blade 3, but that's just my preference. Some people might like Infinity Blade Dungeons better, and that's great. I mean, maybe it'll get some new people in the forums. Maybe they'll have a separate forum for Infinity Blade. Wow, I cannot talk tonight. For Infinity Blade Dungeons. That'd be really cool. Or they could have the same forum. They could have two communities for two very different games, even though they're under the same franchise. But yeah, so yeah, I'm leaning for Infinity Blade 3 over Infinity Blade Dungeons right now. That could change depending on how good Infinity Blade Dungeons is, but as of now, I am leaning towards Infinity Blade 3 being the better game, even though it isn't announced yet. But, I mean, come on. Infinity Blade is Epic's most profitable game ever, so yeah, I think that will continue with that franchise. So yeah, that's just about it for this video. Infinity Blade 3 versus Infinity Blade Dungeons, and it shares a company. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I apologize for the lack of gameplay. I haven't had a lot of time, and I promise I'll get back to recording gameplay for you guys very soon. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I am Silver the Beast, and I am out.